Good morning, everybody. This is Still in the Fight. Hey, listen, if you wake up every morning and are fighting on behalf of your employees to have a great place to work and your customers to have a great place to shop, and if every day you're setting standards, solving problems, coaching your team, and all you want to do is get just a little bit better, hey, you're in the right place because we're right there with you. We are still learning, we're still working hard to win, and we're still fighting on behalf of our employees and our customers. So today in the studio, we have Mike Costello, CEO for Costello's Ace Hardware. We have Rob Filer, Senior Vice President of Sales for Costello's Ace Hardware, and Art Friedman, Business Coach for Costello's Ace Hardware. And today we're going to talk about seeing money when you're walking around the store. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome, guys. How you doing?
Morning, Art. Morning, Mike.
How's it going, guys?
Good, man. Good.
Good stuff. All right, so let me kick off this, and I want to you can really get very technical and very granular with seeing money, but I'll just give you an overall view of how I define it, and that is it's again it's a mindset, and it's really all about teaching our people and to have an owner's mindset. So to me, seeing money is about protecting the assets and the sales opportunities of your company. And there's a lot of different ways that these happen. And I want to talk later on maybe a little bit about how sometimes these are opposed. These are opposing things. But the biggest reason we teach seeing money and we talk about seeing money is because well, I think a couple of things. I think we all understand that a business needs to make money, and that it's good. And as Art would say, it's not illegal, immoral, or fattening, right? But there's I think two reasons that your employees or our employees want to be part of a winning team, or want to want the company to make a lot of money. The first is the first reason is really because everyone wants to play for a winner. Like, nobody says, "I wanna play on the losing team." So, there's a whole idea of being and playing for a winner that I think helps drive, mindset and drive action and drive really, engagement. And then the second reason is because businesses that make more money, can invest in their people, and they can invest in their growth, and ultimately, the money that's saved by seeing money, by maximizing sales opportunity, by, expanding profits, those companies invest more in people. They invest more in their growth, in new positions, in bonuses. I mean, when there's more money saved, there's more money spread around. It doesn't um, the idea of anyone that sits around that says, "Well, why would I care?" Because it's just going to end up in some owner's pocket. Well, that's not really how most businesses work. The best businesses at making money are the ones that are able to take care of their employees the best. So, I guess I wanted to start with the why. Why is it important? Because that savings and that mindset really comes back to benefit all employees. And I'm sorry for the long answer.
Yeah,
Or
No, it's
no,
a
or
good
well, well, I mean,
it's a good start, Mike. Starting with the why and starting with the with them, what's in it for me is always a great place to start, the way I see it. Getting our folks and getting every team member thinking about, why is this good for me? And I think you hit on a great point. When we talk about seeing money, man, there's a lot of topics there, really. We money is everywhere. It's not just in inventory, it's in sales and all the things that you mentioned. But every action matters, every customer matters, every detail drives the result. You know, so I'm excited to explore this topic with us today.
I
yeah,
know
that's
Art likes
cool.
to talk about the asset, no, the connection to protecting assets.
We know we're going to get that story
Yeah,
today. We're,
yeah,
we're waiting for it.
you're
I'm
gonna
just
get
wondering
that
where you're going to
story.
fit it in.
Yeah, so check this out. So it's like one of my favorite stories, right? But so I'm on an island, Abaco, prior to the hurricane. And anyway, I'm walking through there with the store owner. This was many years ago, but we walked back into the warehouse, and we walk into the warehouse, and there's a box of bolts that had come off the shelf and were all over the ground, and they had little dust bunnies on them. And so I knew they had been there for a day, 2 days, whatever. And I'm standing there. You could picture this, right? I'm standing there with the owner, and I'm looked down at him. I go, "What's going on here?" And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, a box of bolts fell down." And I said, "You see a box of bolts?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, do me a favor." And I said, "Go get me a roll of quarters." So you could picture this, right? The guy leaves, and while he's gone, I bend down, pick up all the bolts that were on the ground, put them in a box. It takes me 30 seconds, right? And then when the guy comes, I take the roll of quarters and I break them open, man. And now all the quarters are right there where the bolts were. And I said, "Come over here, man." So we went off, on the side of a gondola in the warehouse, and we just waited. We didn't have to wait long. We waited a minute or so. And then all we heard was, "Oh my God." And we walked around, and there were two employees down on the ground picking up the quarters. And it's like the message is so clear. It's like people make different choices and different decisions when they see money instead of seeing just a product. And that's the way it is in the real world, right?
So
Yeah.
how do you teach the employees to see money?
I think it's a constant effort to do that. And I think the point that you made earlier is critical. I think the point you made earlier is that it's an asset to the company. And whether you're talking about a product or a sign or a fixture, somebody, so check this out. So somebody wrote a check to pay for it. The disconnect in seeing money, the disconnect is that the people in the stores are not the ones that wrote the check that paid for everything. So, unless you're willing to not only talk about it a lot, but then as a leader in the organization, set that example, you just can't explain it to somebody. It's they just don't get it.
Mm.
Yeah. Listen, that's the golden question, Mike. How do we how do we get people to understand that? When they can equate money to pretty much everything they do every day, and they equate that to their own personal growth, I believe there's something there when they feel enabled or emboldened to do the things that need to be done to see that money. And you know, they don't just work in hardware stores, right? When they feel like they're creating trust and growth every day, not only for customers but for themselves, and creating sales to do that. So it goes way beyond just inventory. The discussion.
Yeah, I think we can't apologize for wanting to be profitable. There's a lot of reasons we're in the business, and we want to inspire our people to for all the reasons and that we exist, which is to help others and serve, and to be good neighbors and really live the values, um, and knowing that at the end of the day, all that has to lead to profit. And if it doesn't matter how good we are as people or how much sunshine we spread all over the world, we won't be able to do it in the forum that we have. Like the business must make money. And I think sometimes it's tough for leaders, especially on privately held companies like a family business. I'm an owner. So like when I have a conversation with an employee of any uh, position. It's between somebody who actually has paper ownership of the company and somebody who doesn't. Uh, but it can't stop us from um, continuing to make the connection between the things and the values that we have and the good we want to spread across the world while we are doing it in the confines of of a profitable business. I think that's conversation has to happen constantly, as Art says. We have to go back to the whys all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when
I
it go ahead, Rob.
No, so we have the why, but now what are the details behind the why? How many different ways do you guys see money? I'll start with one. I'll be bold and say the greeting at the front of the store is money. Put I challenge you to put a figure on it, but that greeting is money. Give me another one. Let's brainstorm for a second.
Well, I think when you go into the warehouse, for example, and you're back there looking at where defectives are in the store, or where and you come across a product that's damaged, and you say to somebody, you know, what's going on there, and they go, well, it's a damaged fountain, it's a damaged this, it's a damaged that, and then you go, well, you see a fountain, and then they go, "Yeah." And I go, "No, no, no, man. You gotta see money." I mean, when you're whether it's at the front end of the store or whether it's at the back end of the store in the warehouse, whatever it is that we're doing has to be in a mindset of there's a cost to it, right? And again, Mike
Hmm.
mentioned it earlier, it's protecting the assets of the company, and I don't think a lot of people can wrap their arms around it. And where you see a lot of it in our business, Rob, is with bad goods. You know, when bad goods get the first tear and you tape it, you got a fighting chance to get something out of that bad good. But if you don't, the chances are it's going to go in the trash. And the difference is, do you see money in the bad good, or do you see fertilizer or soil or whatever in the bad good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Assets
yeah.
inventory,
So
of
there's
course. Yeah.
so you
Mike?
got seeing money is um, impacts the shrink line, right? Seeing money impacts the top line as well, right? Or Rob, you were asking for another. I'll give you another protecting sales opportunity. When we decide to approach a customer or not, you know, that's based on, again, ultimately seeing money, right? We decide not to approach a customer that's standing in front of a barbecue that's looking at it and not have that conversation. And that customer looks looks at it, walks out of the store and goes by and buys it somewhere else. That's, I think, an example of not understanding,
Yeah.
again, it's not protecting an asset, it's protecting a sale and ultimately protecting our brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make conscious choices
Good
every day.
point.
How about timing? Timing is money. Look at our .com program. We make the conscious choice to be excellent by by answering somebody within 15 minutes. How about 3 minutes? How about 2 minutes? How about now? Right? Think about a business that is. I was at a UPS store yesterday. A woman just opened up 6 months ago. I try and go there for everything. I want to see her succeed. Nice lady, families in there. I'll do mail. I sent a fax yesterday from her store. She charged me $2.35 for 2 sheets of paper. I gave her $5. Right? I said, "No, it's all good. I want to see you succeed here." But think about that business. Can you imagine her phone dinging every a couple times an hour with an order, and her saying, "Well, I'll get to it in 15 minutes." It's like these opportunities are all around us. It's a follow up call. It's the introduction of somebody. It's so
It's
yeah.
it's just a mindset, right? I mean, I can think, we've got a few basements out there, right? And, I can think at times going into, like, Massapequa's basement and seeing, pallets of, merchandise, and you turn around and you look at whoever you're walking with, right? And you go, What's going on in there, man?" And it's just a conglomeration of products sitting in there, and they're going, "Well, it looks like there's this and there's that and there's that." And I go, "No, man." I said, "It looks to me like there's about $1,000 worth of merchandise in there." And I don't know why it is, but people have a hard time transitioning that the value of the product to money. And again, I think of the disconnect, and I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on it, but I think that disconnect is that they just didn't write the check to pay for it.
And they
What do you
never
think?
will.
Yeah, and they never will.
I mean, listen, we could talk about why. I mean, I don't think it's about fixing it, right? I mean, you're gonna have very few businesses in this world where it's one owner, one employee.
Yeah. Yeah.
where you're not going to have that conversation with one person. So, um, sorry if there's no, it doesn't apply. Yeah, there's always going to be someone who doesn't write a check. But we also know people in our business that treat it like it's their own. They treat,
Yeah.
the assets of the company like they're their own. They bring a certain level of pride. So it's more about, hey, how do we uh, have more emulation of those people that do have it? Because you don't need to be the owner of a business to treat it like an owner, do you?
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. We have lots of examples of that. We have a buyer in our organization who's become the plushy toy queen of the East Coast. And she takes a lot of pride in finding those toys and getting them out to locations. Mike, we were talking about our new store, the merchandising of, how about that as an example? How about the merchandising of an existing or a new location and how that, you know, drives sales, which is seeing money. What about our quarter pallet program, which has been very successful? That's seeing money.
Mhm.
We took some space and repurposed it in a way that we're seeing great benefits. What about our UPT program? What about our WOW program? I mean, we can go down the list of all the things that we're doing. Um, but it's the people who grab onto those and run with those, and I believe we can identify the the competencies that allow that to happen.
I don't hear these kind of conversations in other companies. I don't hear the comments about looking at product as money. And I think that if you're fortunate enough to have a store manager that thinks and acts like an owner, I think that you've got a fighting chance to protect the assets of the company. But the downside is if you're not talking about it and you have a manager in place that doesn't understand and doesn't think and act like an owner, I think that frankly, I think poor decisions are made. And I think that to the point earlier, we're in business to make a profit, and when our markdowns are excessive because of damaged goods, and they can be protected. I mean, I could tell you 100 stories, and you guys could too. But I walked out in one of our stores a couple of years ago, and it was just after a huge rain, and we walked behind the store, and there was Opti packs behind the store. And I just looked at him, I go, what's in the Opti packs? And he didn't really know what was in the Opti packs, so we walk over and we look in the Opti packs, and there was, 3 Opti packs. They were full of lawn and garden merchandise, and they were, full of water. And it's like, what goes through somebody's head when you see that? And then how do you deal with it when you do see it?
Oh, yeah, that's that's why you have 9 box, and that's why you have performance management, and and you gotta have a process of taking care of that stuff. But I think that the mindset of seeing money, to me, is asset protection, it's sales opportunity, and it's process. And when we talk about our process, you have to have a good process, and you have to have that built into what you're doing every day. So uh, that's where the opportunities are.
Art, also you mentioned, how do you teach people how to see money or especially at the leadership level? Um, well, I mean, we have a scorecard for money. It's called a profit and loss statement.
Mhm.
So, um, if you're not reviewing profit and loss statements with the people in your business, um, then you shouldn't expect them to understand how money works outside of taking it at the register. So, I think it starts there. And what I tell you is the best operators, um, look at a P&L and can look at most of the lines in the P&L and understand what the actions that happened throughout the course of that period that led to those results. And they can also be standing and working inside or within their business on a daily basis and understand how the actions and the activity inside their business is going to impact that P&L at the end. I mean, so there's a very strong connection to what are what the things that we do and the things that we execute and the results that it's going to produce. And the best operators, they have that connection, but you're not born with that. And even as an owner, you're not born with that. You you're you get that through reviewing financial statements and then connecting back to the actions, and then kind of slowly or gradually working towards understanding what's the predicted results based on what we're going to choose to do today. Save a product from being thrown out,
Yeah.
save a vehicle from getting, abused that might have to be replaced, or a piece of equipment. Approaching those customers, making our phone calls to our business customers. Um, you know, I'll just give you one more example of where I think, and I'm going to say this is seeing money on the sales side, right? And we see this in our company, which is pretty cool. It didn't happen years and years ago, but at the end of the month, our sales go up. Our pro sales, our best 2 days of almost every single month are the last 2 business days of the month. It happens in our spa business. It happens in our pro business, and it just is it's a heightened what do you want to call it? Emphasis on, hey, let's just make sure the outreach is there, and we're reaching out to customers. And again, there's a reason our salespeople,
Yeah.
and they're trying to book the revenue in that period, but it is an action that's delivering a result. That's really what it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're driving towards a number. The expectation is set that you're expected to hit a number, and it doesn't happen by happenstance. It doesn't happen because somebody walks in the door. It happens because you're driving it. You're finding it. And that's very simplistic to say that, and it doesn't happen that way all the time. But we want folks who have pride in hitting their numbers every month, and they're expected to hit their numbers. And if they're close, they're going to strive to get it across the line at the end of the month. There's a reason why we channelize the efforts with top line revenue, because we want to have those driving factors at the end of every period that we're talking about within those channels. And it's kind of like a funnel type approach, where if you have 5 or 6 funnels acting and doing the right things, you'll get more out at the end. So I think I'm pretty proud of our actions with top line across all segments of the business as we define them. There's always more to do, and there's always more to get to, but I think we set the standard around that, which we should all feel very proud of.
Hey, Rob, I don't know that everybody that might be listening to this at some point would understand what all those different sales channels are. Why don't you take just a second and
It's
describe
probably
what
another
are they?
segment. So yeah, this is going to sound crazy to traditional retailers, but we have like 6 or 7 segments. So we call our DIY business DIY. That's the regular walk-in customer. They're there for their home. We have our pro that's managed by store personnel. These are customers that walk in, and the store manages those accounts, the store leadership and the store B2B champions. We have our managed accounts by outside sales reps. These are customers that would never walk into the store. They're enterprise level customers. They're bigger entities. They buy from pick lists. Maybe they traditionally buy online. Our reps go out and find them and drag their business back into the store and hold that relationship. We call our service business something different. This is our screen repair, and our plastic cutting, and our rental programs, and there's about 11 different categories of in-store services that we look at and we market separately. We have a hearth and spa program where we sell fireplaces and spas and the services associated with that. That's a separate channel. We have our pellet program. We sell fuel. We're in the fuel business. Who would have thought it, right? It's called pellets, mainly in Maryland, but
Yeah.
building out recurring revenue. People need to heat their homes and use supplemental heating every year. That's our pellet program. We have a .com program that's plus 60% year over year this year and growing like crazy. And it's tied into the ACE program, acehardware.com. I think I got them all. Mike,
No,
did I
you
miss any?
did.
I think you got them all.
Yeah.
You got
Listen,
'em
we
all.
measure that every day. We
Yeah, but
set
other companies don't do it.
we
They don't
set
do it.
targets. We see that money, and we
Yeah.
expect to hit those budgets by channel by channel. and we know how we're pacing throughout the month, and we'll change our plans throughout the month. We'll adjust them if we're not hitting the mark. And then to Mike's point, it's a frantic race to
Yeah.
the end at the end of every month. Hey, we expect to hit 100% in every one of those channels. And if one of those channels is not hitting 100%, we expect another channel to support it with hitting beyond 100%. So,
Yeah.
the end game is to hit that top line number. Now, if we see money on the expense side of the ledger, we're going to have a good month, right?
Yeah.
If we see money on our balance sheet, we're going to have a better month, to Mike's point about assets and asset protection. So that's the leadership view, but it all happens on the front lines. And creating that why and that with them, if you can't find the product, you can't sell it.
Yeah.
If you can't sell it, we lose the revenue. If the inventory is not right, the customer loses confidence. If the
Whew.
customer loses confidence, they go buy somewhere else, right?
If the product's damaged on the shelf, you can't sell it.
Can't sell it.
Yeah.
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 It's a lot about, I believe that if you look at the goal of a business, I mean, no business starts out to lose money, right? So our main goal is to make money, to make the business sustainable and reinvest, blah, blah, blah. But, the purpose of the business is to serve customers. And I think that when everybody in the organization is seeing and looking at the business in a way that allows them to see money when they walk around, whether it's lost sales, whether it's damaged product, whether it's increased going out and getting business. I think that we do a better job in our purpose. And again, that's just serving customers.
Mhm.
So is it too late to bring up another topic or
Now
not
go
another
ahead.
topic? No,
Jump
so
in.
I mean, I think a really important part, and Rob, you mentioned the word just before is budget. There's like if you don't a budget is a plan. It's a success plan. So if you don't have a plan of where you're going to end up, how do you know if you're doing if you're doing well? And how you measure performance? How do you see if your teachings, you know, every day about seeing money or even delivering a result? So I think and there's plenty of people that don't budget, and there's plenty of
Oh
people that
yeah.
budget and don't look at it and don't measure themselves against it, and I think those are opportunities, because you
Wow.
need to have goals. You need to have goals, and you need to, I think, be striving towards, you know, winning somewhere. I think it
Yeah.
all comes down to winning, right? Like, we all
Yeah.
wanna win. Uh, yeah, I'd say if you don't budget regularly because you don't think it's a worthwhile, idea, I think that's a problem.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would tell you that most single store owners don't budget. And many multi-store owners don't budget, especially small multi-store owners. And I don't know what it is. I think part of the issue is when they've got money in the bank to pay their bills. I don't think they're as motivated as somebody that needs to budget to make sure that they can, either make bank requirements or even be able to pay their bills at the end of the month. But you're right, man. I mean, if you don't budget, it's like, how do you even know whether you're doing good or not? But,
Yeah. It's
anyway,
probably another conversation. We could
yeah,
spend
yeah,
a whole show on the psychology of setting goals, setting budgets, taking actions, building win the month plans, win the day plans, and what you do and how you adjust along the way. Uh,
yeah. You guys, I love this conversation, but we're going to have to wrap it up. And in the way that we'd like to wrap it up, and just maybe give our listeners just a nugget that they can take into their own business and use. What would you think? Just one thing.
I
One thing.
I just say you always start with the why, and the whys to me are, one first because we all want to win. We want to be on a winning team, and second because when we work together to save money by seeing money, it benefits everyone in the company, not just a single person. So,
Good.
that's my why.
we keep
Yeah.
score with money. Art,
Yeah.
you've said that many times, right?
Yeah.
Uh, have a mentality of winning, win at the top line. Uh, and, you ever hear the term revenue cures all?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
always, but it helps, right?
Not not always, right.
But drive
Uh,
it, drive
that's
it, and
good.
you can win.
Yeah, to me, it's a matter of in order to be able to focus on the important things in the business, I think it's difficult to do that without putting on your eyes have got to see money when they're walking around the store. They've got to see areas where we're losing money. They got to see areas where we can make more money. But you got to be focused on it. And to me, as an action step, what I'd recommend other retailers is think of your own story, man. How do you explain this in a way to a group of hourly employees that they can understand it? And I think that when we can explain it to, again, our sales clerks on the floor, the people we just hired today, in a way that they can understand it, I think we at least got a fighting chance down the road to be able to get our people to see money. And if they can see money, they're gonna stop wasting money. And one other thing, and if you're listening to this and you don't understand where your markdowns are, that's a big deal. You gotta know where your markdowns and how much your markdowns are costing you and what categories of markdowns
That's
you're having.
another show, Art. That's margin management's another show. Come on.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, you guys, thanks a lot for a great time, a great half an hour together, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Ciao, everyone.